educate, empower, enable, impact. Thank you for tuning in to That Will Never Work podcast, where we share inspiring information and personal experiences related to business and the entrepreneurial journey from those who are leaders in their respective field. Now, here is your host, author and business coach, Maurice.
Hello, everybody. I appreciate you coming on today. So, today we are, I guess, kind of continuing on the last episode, talking about the skill that you learn, right? Are you developing a skill or whatever it is? So, I'm not sure if reading is a skill, but it is something that most of us do very frequently. Some do not. Some of us talk about, hey, we need to get back to it, things like that. But so one of the things that I decided that I wanted to do too, which was to start reading more. Not say I wasn't reading at all, but I could have been reading more thoroughly, finished books, things like that. One of the books that I just finished is very interesting. It's a book by Gary John Bishop, and it is called Un-F Yourself. Get out of your head and into your life. I'm going to tell you that this particular book really encouraged me because it made me start to evaluate all of the excuses that I give myself to not move forward. I give you an example. I wake up in the morning, and I talked to my wife about this not too long ago. I would get up in the morning, and if I didn't feel well, I would find an excuse not to go to work, not to pick up the kids, not to go to church, whatever it might have been. My question to you today, how does something like that work in someone's life that might have goals and dreams and aspirations? It wouldn't. Or at least not very well, and not get the desired outcome that you require of yourself or you're asking of yourself. So when I think about this book, it brings up quite a few points. But ultimately, it's a way to talk yourself into something versus talking yourself out of something. And I think that is the key. I thought I was going to talk myself out of getting this book started. So I started reading the book last year sometime. And I dropped off. I started doing other things. My time was taken up by whatever it might have been. And I would look at the book. It was sitting on the table. I would look at the book. I put it away. I pull it back out. And I always wanted to get back to the book. Well, here's what my wife told me. My wife told me, well, why don't you do the audiobook? Okay, so I started an audiobook. And I was like, all right, I read this chapter. All right, I'm okay. And then I started hearing something else, and I was like, you know what? Let me pause it right here. Let me actually pull the book out and actually just have it act as if it's narrating it to me instead of just reading it for me. And I want to follow along. So as I'm reading, I was able to get more out of it by not just listening to it, but also reading it for myself. Now, here's what happened too. It allowed me to slow down because sometimes I read too fast or I skip words, whatever it is. It's that normal stage that we're in where everything is in a microwave. But I took my time. I slowed down. I read the book. And there's a wealth of information in there that I really have to say that encourages me for 2023. And in that is because this book encouraged me is what happened for the last episode where I spoke about, do I really want to take on a new skill, or do I just want to perfect what I've already been doing? So before I get all the way into the book, because I think this is going to be a couple episode series, if you will. But before I get all the way into the book, it pushed me to evaluate things that I am doing. So for an example, when we doing the podcast, right? The podcast, I feel overwhelmed. I felt like I don't have enough time in a day because of all the other things that's going on. One of the things that people have been telling me was to outsource what you feel like you don't have enough time for. I hope that you like the new intro for the show. If you listen to the first episode, hopefully you like the new outro for the show. That's because I had taken the time to evaluate what my limitations were, right? And now decided that I'm going to, instead of talk myself into, you know what, I can't do this and I need to do that, I'm not going to pay somebody else. I can do it. I can do it. I can do it. In the meanwhile, I'm saying I can do it. And the time is getting later and shorter and shorter and later. And now I don't have it. Now it's not done. Let me tell you, I sat down and in my time of wasting time, right? You know, a lot of us waste time being on our phones and things like that. Instead of me wasting time on Facebook, Instagram, whatever it might have been, YouTube, I was sitting down looking at a website called Fiverr, seeing who can do the work that I'm looking for. So in that, I listened to a lot of different intros and outros and spokespersons, so forth and so on. And I would say, you know what? I can do this. But, Maurice, how professional? Where are you changing? How are you growing? You can't do everything. So I had to talk myself into that investment to make this show better. I like this intro. I really do. And I hope that you do too. So are you willing to ask yourself, what am I doing great? What am I doing average? And what am I doing subpar? And as you're talking to yourself and you find that you're doing stuff that's subpar, can you find the answer to the question? Can you? How do you get out of a place of being stuck? How do you get out of a place of facing your fears? Being unwilling to do something and understand that, you know what, maybe someone else can do it better and I can still benefit from it. Maybe I could do something better and they could benefit from it. Maybe we can collaborate and make each other better in the process. I challenge you today to find that place or that space that you're weak in. And now talk to yourself, i.e. like this book where it does a lot of self-talking, to talk yourself into it instead of out of it. Find a way to change your mood, boost your confidence, increase productivity. What is that needs to happen in order for you to get to your goals? And not just get to them, but smash them. That Will Never Work podcast, our goals for That Will Never Work podcast were smashed last year by getting all the downloads that we desired and by having the amount of episodes in one season. Now, can we really smash the episode number? We could if we have a show every single day. But can we double and triple our download numbers? We sure can. So what does that mean? A better production, maybe a better intro, outro, better topics that people want to hear, different information from our guest, marketing, advertising, understanding what our reputation is, hearing what people are talking about, and taking that information into consideration and improving upon it. Getting our testimonials and seeing what those, what their people are saying about us, right? Oh, wow. Am I building my brand? Am I increasing on my brand? I'm sorry. If you listened last year, that's one of the things that we talked about. Maybe, creating a better work ethic, maybe. Oh, wow. That's some of the things, Maurice, that you talked about last season. The top 10 things that you had seen off of LinkedIn. If you didn't hear about it, go back and listen. So here's one of the things that I've learned from this book, which is to try to talk myself into a more positive situation. I thank you very much for listening today, and listen out for the next podcast episode.
Thanks for listening. Find us on social media at Chisholm Group LLC and check back weekly for new episodes. Until next time, that will never work, or will it?